We Americans are proud of our history, but our country has always been about the future. And before us now is the opportunity to author the greatest chapter yet in the amazing story of America. But we can't do that by going back to the leaders and ideas of the past.
Let the games begin as we open up this edition of The Arena. First, she is the veteran award-winning journalist who is the founder of JaneUnchained.com, host at ConnectPal.com, also the author of Exposed, The Secret Life of Jodi Arias. Always a pleasure to bring Jane Velez-Mitchell back to the panel. And she is the New York Times bestselling author and CNBC contributor who is also, thankfully, unchained in her opinions. It is always a pleasure to welcome back Carol Roth. Ladies, pleasure to see you both.
You too, Ed.
All right, let's go ahead and get started because, Marco Rubio, gee, what a shock, is now going to be in the race for the Republican presidential side of things. Carol, let's go ahead and begin with you. He seems to have hit all the right notes. People are saying that he's already taken the lead in some cases, at least, if you would believe. But there's still some nagging questions about some of his flip-flopping. But they say that that's not going to hurt him. What do you think?
Well, I have to say that if there was a time to run for president, 2016 is that time. And with the field as weak as it currently is and probably will remain, I think that Marco Rubio has a pretty decent shot here. I think he gave a great speech yesterday. Certainly his prior work, so to speak, on immigration is probably going to be the albatross that he bears throughout the presidential campaign season. Certainly will be the one labeling him a flip-flopper, but, everybody gets labeled that at some point in time. I just don't know if it will hurt him that much, either in getting the nom or in getting elected. And frankly, from the names that are being bantered about on the right side of the aisle, I think he has the best shot of being elected in a general election.
Jane, there you go. He's young. He's got that look. And, hey, even some of the people we've talked to, Hispanic groups, say this whole immigration thing will not bother him. The Hispanic community will still vote for him.
Well, as a Latina myself, I'm Puerto Rican on my mother's side and Irish on my father's side, I can tell you that the Latino voting bloc is the most misunderstood group in America. We are not monolithic. We have liberals, we have conservatives. My gosh, we're from more than 20 countries. We have a rainbow of races and cultures. And so we don't just respond in any one way. So he did flip-flop on immigration, but the truth is that the Latino community is interested in a heck of a lot more than simply immigration. There are about 11 million undocumented workers in the United States, illegal immigrants. We are 54 million people, the Latino community. So the vast majority of Latinos have nothing to do with illegal immigration. We care about other issues. I personally care about gay rights, for example. I was offended by Rubio's stance on gay rights. I think that he's very backward, and I'd really love to get a libertarian Tea Party-minded candidate who isn't backward on social issues. If you believe in freedom, why not give consenting the adults who love each other the right to marry?
Okay, now about 90 seconds I have left. I want to make sure we take care of all of our politics here right now. Jane, I'll stay with you. Hillary Clinton. She wants to be warm and fuzzy and wants to be your friend and show that she goes to fast food restaurants. How do you think she's doing so far, Jane?
Well, I think her opening gambit with that video was crafted, as somebody wrote, like an Allstate commercial. It hit all the right notes. It was very unpolitical. Speaking of gay couples, they had a gay couple that Hillary featured. They featured a Latino brother team. They featured a working man, a white working man. She hit all the right notes. I think that she's almost approaching this as a general election campaign, not as a Democratic primary candidate, and I think that can be smart. Let's see what she does next, because so far she hasn't done much, but what she's done is pretty good.
I got about 30, 40 seconds here. Hey, Carol, Jane does say what a lot of people are feeling. She seemed to hit it right. She hit all those first notes.
No, it was Cirque du Soleil lame. Look, everybody knows Hillary. She's been basically campaigning to be president for like 20 years now, ever since Bill was in the White House. I think she has sort of nowhere to go but down. Everybody already knows who she is and what she stands for. Frankly, I think if the GOP were smart, that they would back off, let her get the nomination, and then they would have a much easier time winning. So I actually do hope she gets the nomination.
Wait a minute, though,
but
Carol.
I don't think she's doing the right thing.
She eats fast food like everybody else, Carol.
She is salt of the earth, people, and she is just like you and me. When I think of the average American, first name that pops into my mind is Hillary Clinton.
Okay, hang on a sec. I'm up against the break because I know Jane was in there too. We missed it. We'll come back. We'll give Jane the last shot on this. And also when we come back, we have to look at something else. A very interesting time in prison. Life for Jodi. Let's get back to work. Veteran award-winning journalist, founder of JaneUnchained.com, author of Exposed, The Secret Life of Jodi Arias, Jane Velez-Mitchell, and New York Times bestselling author and CNBC contributor Carol Roth. Jane, just before we hit the commercial break there, I think you were trying to say something there in retort, if you will. Let me give you a chance. What was it?
Well, you said everybody eats fast food, and I said I don't eat fast food. I wouldn't be caught dead in a fast food restaurant. I think that's what's killing America. So I think she should have gone to a farmer's market.
Jane. Taco Bell's amazing. It's amazing. You're missing out. Live.
That I would say to you, go vegan.
Oh no. I'm afraid we have to cut the difference right there. I'm sorry, Jane. It's somebody once said, don't trust anybody who doesn't eat meat or who doesn't drink a single malt scotch. So there you go.
You're talking about a drought that's going on in California, and they're talking about the farmers, and they keep blaming the almond farmers. It's really the meat and dairy producers that are using up all the water. Think about how much water it takes to raise a cow to slaughter.
Okay, Jane, stop, please. All of the meat eaters here, you're getting to us a little bit. All right, let's move on here. Let's move on to somebody who deserves the punishment that she got, and you wrote the book about it here, Jane. Jodi Arias got life without the possibility of parole. I love the one quote that she said in court. To this day, I cannot believe I was capable of doing something that terrible. I don't know why, but I'm just not quite buying that one.
Well, no, she is a diabolical, vindictive woman who really lashed out at the family. In her final plea to the judge, she said that when she stuck the knife in Travis's throat, he was conscious. Now, first of all, that makes all of her testimony on the witness stand a total lie, because she infamously claimed that she went into a fog and didn't remember any of it. So she proved to the world that she was lying once again. And secondly, the family of Travis Alexander, the victim, they had hoped and prayed that he was unconscious when his throat was slit ear to ear. And she, in her final jab at the family, basically said, no, he was conscious when I almost decapitated him. How cruel is that?
Maybe the best part about this is that she has now gone away for the rest of her life, and America can maybe move on to something else here and not be so fascinated with the Arias trial now, because it was fascinating to watch. But Jane, I even think you would agree it's time to put this animal to bed.
Well, I don't think that it's over, because Jodi Arias is going to appeal, and she may have some grounds, unfortunately. Her own attorney, Kirk Nurmi, has been begging to get off the case. As soon as she was sentenced, the first thing he said was, I want off this case now. So she may have some kind of variation of ineffective assistance of counsel to file an appeal on.
Carol, I got to tell you, if they let this woman out, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I just play one on TV. But my goodness, the preponderance of evidence here. I just can't see America glued to their sets for another 4 years watching the Jodi Arias story.
No, I certainly hope not. And I hate giving all of this attention to somebody who's so purely evil. You know, I always think that there's redemption and second chances for people who make a mistake, but not for pure evil. And that's certainly what this woman seems to be. And I think the most frustrating part is not only all the attention that she's getting, but the fact that no matter if it ends up being life in prison, the death penalty, you know, whatever ends up happening here, going back to trial, is coming out of the taxpayers' dollars. I wish we had a different type of legal system. You know what I would do with her, Ed.
I definitely do. 2 minutes left here before we take a break, and here comes real evil. 1 year ago today, this is the 1 year anniversary of the abduction of young girls by Boko Haram. They still have several hundred of them missing. I believe it's 219 or something like 214. Carol, there was this big social media play that everybody wanted to make sure that we didn't forget the girls. We've pretty much forgotten them.
Yeah, I mean, awareness doesn't equal action. And I know everybody likes to feel like if they do something and jump on a hashtag that they're actually doing something, but they're not. It's just talk. And it's really frustrating to see that no action was taken to try and do something to actually bring back these girls and to stop Boko Haram and other terrorist groups of the like from letting this happen again. And so I think that that's a big takeaway for anybody who's watching. It's one thing to raise your voice, but we have to prompt more action being done.
219 remain missing, by the way. So, Jane, about a minute or so that we have left here, what can we do? I mean, other than sending American troops in here, because there really isn't much the world can do. Boko Haram won't listen to anybody.
Well, listen, we have given hundreds of millions of dollars to this country over the years. It's one of the most corrupt countries on the face of the earth. I think the United States needs to use the power of the purse more effectively. Additionally, some of that money is going to childhood protection. What an irony. I mean, what we should do is find these girls and pressure the government to find those girls. I'm sure that they can be found, and I think it's complacency and a desire to sort of stay away from a political hot point that could explode that keeps us from doing that. But if we can track a FedEx package from coast to coast, we can find 200 girls, and let's pray that they haven't been massacred already, because there's some reports that they might have been. We know at the very least they have been sold into sexual slavery, and they've been forced to marry some of these terrorists, and even forced to carry guns and work as soldiers. So we have to find them. If we can know that much, we certainly could know where they are.
And the new president says he cannot promise that these girls will be found. Ladies, if you will, take just one more break. We're going to come back. Equal Pay Day and what it really means. We'll start that off in the arena when we continue next on MidPoint. Here we go. Veteran award-winning journalist, founder of JaneUnchained.com, host at ConnectPal.com, Jane Velez-Mitchell, and New York Times bestselling author, CNBC contributor, two of my favorite people, Carol Roth. Ladies, let's go ahead and get rolling. Last segment here. It is Equal Pay Day in America. They're having big rallies in Washington, D.C. And here I am once again focused on this statement that women make 77 cents to every dollar that a man earns. Carol Roth, you're the one who does an awful lot when it comes down to money on a day-to-day basis. Can we please put this to rest?
So there actually is a real issue with women not being paid what they're worth. I hate the fact that they cite the statistic because they are conflating issues. They're taking an average pay for women, not comparing like or similar work. So I hate the fact that they throw that in the argument. It is an issue that women are often underpaid. And I think that as a woman, this is where you need to take action. You need to ask for more, you need to do great work, and you need to advocate for yourself. And that is the best way to raise awareness, because I have been in this situation many times before. I've seen many other professional women in this situation. A lot of times, particularly when you're in a male-dominated field. I came from investment banking, very male-dominated.
Okay, well, hang on one sec. Carol, I'm going to stop you right there for 1 second. I'm going to stop you right there for 1 second, because here's a study from the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce. It says that men overwhelmingly outnumber women in the jobs that make more money. Petroleum
100%.
engineering, 87% male. Math and computer science, 67% male. Aerospace engineering, 88% male. And on the female side, they're showing counseling psychology, 74% female. Early childhood education, 97% female. What they're saying is that women don't get paid the same because they don't go out for the jobs that pay more money like men do. How would you answer that?
And both points are correct. That's what the whole conflation of the 70 cents per dollar issue that I was talking about is. That is an incorrect statement, and it is depressed by the types of jobs that women take on. But even within the same job, and Ed, this has happened to me, and you know that I'm the biggest advocate for myself that's out there, and I speak up. I've had situations where I've been in a partnership, I've been offered a lower percentage than every other man around the table. I've said, absolutely not. You're only doing this because I'm female. They all look at me in horror. Wait, they all look at me in horror, but you know what ends up happening? I end up getting the same percentage at the end of the day.
I can't imagine why. It's a
subconscious thing, though. They don't realize it.
Okay, go ahead, Jane.
Precisely why we need a woman in the highest, most powerful office in the land, okay? And the best shot we have at that is Hillary Clinton. That will be a game changer in the gender department. This will have a profound impact on our culture, and we can't underestimate it. Our time has come.
Wait a minute, Jane, but wait, hold on a sec. Go ahead, Carol. I think you're going there.
Man who basically did the equivalent of sexually harassing an intern in the White House. Any CEO would have been kicked out for that. She's married to him. I don't get her as the champion for women's rights. I'm sorry.
You can't judge her based on her husband. Her husband isn't running. Hillary Clinton is running. She's been a Secretary of State.
If she's
been
a champion for women's rights, you don't stand for that. I'm sorry, that's
Oh, please,
incredibly
get out of
hypocritical.
their bedroom and let's get into their policy issues. That's what's
This
important.
isn't a bedroom situation. If he were CEO of a company, he would have been thrown out. Completely inappropriate behavior, not a champion for women.
To judge Hillary Clinton based on something her husband did a long time ago is absolutely unfair to her and by extension all women.
Well, okay, let's not do that then. Ladies, let's not do that then. Let's not judge Hillary Clinton on what her husband did. I agree with that. Let's stop there. But Jane, what you're saying is insulting to men right off the bat, because what you're inferring here is that only a woman in the White House, if a woman gets there, can change things and make things fair. You just said that. It has to be Hillary Clinton in there. Why can't a man do it as well?
Guess what, Ed? It's not fair now, and we haven't had a woman in the White House. So let's try a woman in the White House and see if it becomes more fair.
But it is fair
and
according to the
I will also mention
stats,
that Hillary
though, Jane.
Clinton pays the women on her staff less than the men on her staff.
Jane, it is fair according to the stats, because this 77-cent issue here, that 23-cent gender pay gap does not take into account differences in occupation, positions, education, job tenure, or hours worked per week. Now, we've proven that already.
Just turn on your TV and see how many 60, 70-year-old men you have sitting next to women who are in their early 20s who look like they could dance on a stage, on a dance pole. That's all you have to look at to understand how culture impacts women's pay. Okay, even Carol, who I love debating with, made a reference to the fact that Hillary's been around a long time, i.e. she's an older woman.
Oh, I don't think that's what she said.
No, that somehow reduces her value. In our society, as men get older, they get more valuable. As women get older, they get less valuable. That's a fact. There are many other factors other than whether somebody chooses to be a petroleum engineer to account for wage disparity.
But would you not agree, though, that the studies show that men go after the higher paying jobs? I mean, Carol's she works in this business. She knows it, and that's what the studies tell us.
Banker world, what higher paying category?
In that case, wait a minute, Jane, I'm going to tell you right, I'll cut that off, because if you're in the same position, then you should be paid exactly the same amount of money.
But they're not, Ed, and that's my point, is that there's two separate issues, and I hate the fact that they're pulled together. There's definitely a lack of women going after the higher paying jobs, but also for the same paying jobs, there is a subconscious bias that I believe is rooted in sexuality and the objectification of women, where women get these lower offers, and that's why as a woman you have to advocate for yourself, because when you point it out in that moment, that's when we can take action. We don't need legislation. We don't need the government to solve this. We need more women taking action. And I'd love to see more women in the race. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, I will not vote for someone just because they're a woman, just like I would hope no one would vote against somebody just because they're a woman.
Jane, I give you the last word, 30 seconds.
Just because Carol's an extraordinary woman who managed to advocate for a higher pay scale than she was offered doesn't mean that every other woman in America should have to go to those extraordinary lengths or can do it as well as Carol did.
But shouldn't every other man and every other woman try that? Shouldn't they all look forward to getting paid better? Shouldn't they be the ones out there pushing for it?
And what I'm saying is you use every tool in the book. And when you have a woman in the highest, most powerful position in the world, that will send a signal to everyone. How dare you pay a woman less for doing the same work than a man, because we know she's capable of anything.
I have a feeling it'll send some signals, but I'm not sure if everybody will be very thrilled with all those signals by the time they're sent. Ladies, this has been awesome to go through again. As always, Jane Velez-Mitchell, Carol Roth, thank you so much for your time. We will do this again. There's Jane. Jane's going to head right out now and join the campaign. There you go. All right. In the Southeast, there is concern, not about Hillary, but about too much rain. And despite what the calendar reads, we're not done with snow just yet. Jessica Reyes details the map doings in this Newsmax weather update.
Hey, I'm Jessica Reyes with your weather from coast to coast. Yes, spring is officially here, but Mother Nature doesn't seem to care. We are expecting some snow across the higher elevations for today, anywhere between 3 and 6 inches. Meanwhile, across the Great Lakes, a lot warmer, Rapid City, South Dakota, with mainly sunny skies. Daytime highs reaching the lower 80s into the 70s by the Great Lakes, mainly sunny skies for Minneapolis. Meanwhile, we will continue moving southward, where we are dealing with rain and lots of it, including lots of flooding into parts of Houston and New Orleans as as well. And then a lot of that will continue moving eastward across the southeast, especially by the Atlantic coastline. So showers and thunderstorms through there. A lot cooler by the northeastern portion of the country, especially as you step out this morning. And in today's worst weather, we're doing it at a Ball, Louisiana, with a daytime high in the mid-70s at 74, overnight low of 62 degrees. And here are some of your daytime highs.
All right, second half of the Arena digs into one issue the GOP might consider surrendering for the next election cycle. At least that's what some believe. Another reason some people should never be parents, and the lunacy of allowing a volunteer to carry a badge and a gun. It's coming up next when MidPoint and the Arena continues.